Okay. Now, I think we had a discussion when we were looking at the readability of our textbook that there's a question about who writes these textbooks for the authors. We know that they're supposed to be educators in the particular discipline, and that they should have some knowledge about what they're doing, especially for us in the Caribbean, this side where we do the CSEC exams. The Caribbean Examination Council that's responsible for that. Many books are out there, especially for the sciences. But have you come across errors in any of the textbooks that you have used? Whether it be the prose, the written prose, maybe it's a diagram and illustration and the labeling of something, tables. Have you had that experience? Can you identify any that you remember? It might be hard to just find an error right now in your textbook, but have you seen some? Because I can't necessarily tell you to go look for an error now, but certainly have you identified some errors? And we're not talking about typographical errors. We're talking about major errors that can lead to misconceptions for the students.
The only error of saying that comes to mind now is answer. The textbook give you a wrong answer. So students try to do it. They got the right answer, but the textbook give different answer.
Oh, I've heard that too with the math. I'm not quite sure it's the current edition, but I've heard that about the mathematics textbooks as well. That they have these exercises, but when they flip to the back to look for the answers, they're incorrect. Anybody else has had any experience with errors, misleading information? Might not be erroneous, but just not clear. It's just you'd have to probably almost rewrite the section. No? Okay. Well, this isn't new, and there might be more improvements in recent times, certainly, I think so. But there were two articles that I wanted us to look at that kind of speaks to the implication and the impact of errors in our textbooks. Let's see if this works. Can let me know if you're able to. Shouldn't have done it this way. All right, I'm going to do it a different way. All right, I'm going to do it this way. Okay, yes, that way you get to see it as I'm seeing it. So this is it's funny, I don't know the date. It was already, I created this PowerPoint before, but I don't know the date. Sorry that I didn't keep the date. But basically it's talking about, again, unfortunately, North American ABC News, science textbooks full of errors. But there were some principles from it that were interesting to me. So it talks about some persons who had done some study and they did a research and found out that there were some books that just had these errors in it. And it said that the researchers had compiled their report and essentially they said there were really basic errors in there. It talks about the misstatement like misspeaking, Newton's first law of physics, and they said that is so basic. But what was interesting to me was the books that they identified. How many of you use books by McGraw-Hill? If you've come across them, or Prentice Hall. These are publishers that have a big stake in the science textbook world, so to speak. And they were saying that for some of them, they had gross errors. Have you ever heard these? I don't know if it's authors or the I think Prentice Hall might be the publisher. Same thing from McGraw-Hill. Anybody have recognized these names?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, right. So they were saying that for them, these textbooks were ones that you really had to look out for. And it was interesting, they said that the textbooks were trying to make sure they were politically correct. It covered cultural diversity, made sure it got that right, but at the same time, the basic science was flawed. So when we are going to review books, this is your role now. When you're going to review a book, please make sure, you know, the head of the department, if you're not the head of the department, like ask you to read a book or submit your own ideas. Don't let it slide. Please make every effort to participate and review the book thoroughly so that you can make a valuable input in the choice of the book. All right, I'm still trying to get to the next one now. One more, and then we go on. There we go. This one. Okay. It says big blunders found in school textbooks. And it goes on, it describes what there was, but it says, this was the part that I wanted to highlight, that there is some confusion in a particular textbook about the first law of thermodynamics and conservation of energy. And if these students, if it's not clarified, can you imagine the misconceptions that would follow them into or beyond your level of school? And it continues, it goes on, gives some examples. But as this article concludes, errors are small, low. They don't think we should be making a big deal about them, but at the same time, you'll be surprised how students can grab on. Once a student catches or you know, has believed something, or there's a misconception, sometimes it's hard to erase it, as you might have had your own experience. Okay, so I just wanted to bring those to your attention. Whoops. Don't want to close down everything. Okay. I certainly don't want to close you down. All right. Now, there is another way in which we can assess books, and you got a handout that talked about criteria for assessing our science textbooks. I'm going to bring that up. If I can find it. There it is. Sorry, I'm having some little challenges here, moving here and there. All right, here we go. Here it is. Aha, gotcha. Can you read this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Trying to just center it here. Textbooks sometimes have questions. How many of you use the questions that are already built into the textbooks?
And I do sometimes.
It's a good way for students to really interrogate the information, so to speak. And according to this article by the author, I should have written down author of the article. It's really a chapter from a book. I think the author's name is at the top of it, Shoibo. He addresses the fact that there are different types of questions. Factual questions, rhetorical questions, leading questions, and probing questions. They all have different roles. So as we're looking at textual features, we looked at the bold, whether it's large print, small print, the graphs, etc., etc. But the content, how the content is organized, they also assist or retard the student's ability to comprehend what's going on. In your textbooks now, let's quickly go through and see if you can identify these 4 types of questions. Factual questions, they're simply straight recall. Rhetorical questions that really, they're just posing them there, but they don't expect students to try and answer them. Leading questions, probing questions, those are questions of a higher order level. See if your textbook uses those in communicating with the student through the textbook. I understand that some textbooks model the exam questions nowadays, that they might put a model question at the end of a chapter. Those questions are very good to bring to the attention of the students. Use them, ask your students those questions. Any discoveries so far? Have you found any questions? Any of the categories, sorry. You'll probably see questions, but can you categorize them?
Yes.
What
I noticed is question number 1 in this chapter is factual because it's a recall question.
Okay.
The question reads, which of these are mixtures and which are pure substances? So we have soil, copper, sulfate, 18 karat gold, hydrogen, water, silver, air, seawater, lead, and carbon dioxide. So that's just a direct recall question.
Right.
And the second one is, I think it's leading or probing. Like you said, the higher order question is describe how you will separate the following mixture. Describe how you will separate the following mixture. A, powder copper sulfate and powder copper. B, a suspension of chalk in water. C, 2 miscible liquid, one which boils at 60 degrees Celsius and the other of which boils at 100 degrees Celsius. D, powder, iodine, and sand. E, and it goes on.
Right, right. So it's not just simply straight recall. They would have to know what makes up a mixture, what are the different separation techniques, and then apply that information.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's definitely a higher order. Leading questions guide readers towards answers given later in the text. All right, so probably more probing as they make the application. All right, Linton, any questions posed in your textbook?
Yes, actually we have a textbook, another ag textbook. We have 2 textbooks. Eva has one and I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, Eva's textbook does not have questions. No questions.
No questions at all?
No. But the textbook that I have, it's like it have different, like for each topic, we have questions for this textbook. For example, the question would be like, list the functions of a harrow. And it would also tell you like what attachment would be needed to plow a heavy clay soil. So it's like those questions would be like direct questions to the passage.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they have any those would be recalled or factual questions? Do they have any higher order questions? Do they build on the questions?
Well, actually, the answers are in a table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So from the table, they could just get the answers right away.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but they do have higher order questions at somewhere describe and this kind of stuff. They have it
Okay.
because this is not really it's not really for students per se. It's just this is like as a teacher based on what we did. I did a book review and it was recommended for teachers as a resource material, not really for students.
Okay. I saw
So yeah, so you can actually have, because again it's based on CSET, so you'll actually have them go through the questions, you use it, and then you can actually use these questions in your class to get them to get the style and stuff, the structure of the CXC questions and stuff. So not really a text recommended for students per se, but as for teachers.
Right. So in a way, it will supplement even the text that doesn't have the questions. In other words,
Yes, because it carries the same format, same information. You said it has it a bit more in detail, and then you have the question to go with it.
Right. Very important. Questions are really very important. Tracy, what about your textbook? Do you have questions for the students to answer in there?
The way this textbook is, it's they have fairly simple questions at the end of each chapter, but at the end of the section, they have the more complicated exam type questions.
Sorry, towards the end, your voice seems to have trailed off.
Sorry. For each chapter, the questions are pretty simple. They're mostly just recall, but at the end of the section, which involves a few chapters, questions are more more probing.
I get you now. All right, Jason, quickly, your textbook has questions, higher order, probing, or just factual?
Not really. They don't really have questions. They have they call them exercises. So it's more like, but it would be, I guess, the equivalent of factual questions. Like, for example, describe the nature and explain the implications of exponential growth in human populations. So they're not phrases questions. They're more like assignments that try and get the students to recall facts, though. So I guess they're pretty much factual. But in the text, I found a rhetorical question, like at the end of a little section.
All right.
It's just a part of the text, but it's not.
I understand, just there. But the question that you just read, do you think that that's just a straight factual question, straight recall? It's describe and what is the implication?
Yeah. To me, that's getting them to take information that's in the text. I guess it could be a leading question, but I'm thinking that's gonna, I think it'd be a question based on what they've already read. So I don't know if that's leading.
Right. So let's try and clarify. A factual question or recall usually is what, how, where, kind of just straight, as I said, looking in the book, looking into the textbook, and you can literally just lift off the question, the answers to the questions.
Right.
But for the next level, to give the implication, depending on how the textbook presented it, that sounds a little bit more kind of getting the reader, the students, to know, having read what they have, what does it mean in another setting or a new context. I don't know if that's how it's presented. So when I hear words like imply, what is the implication, or give an explanation for, they tend to move from just simply a straight recall question. So it depends on what information was in the content area. I don't know if they can just lift off the answers like that, so to speak.
I guess it could be probing.
Right. I just heard implication, and I just wondered if in fact it's just a straight recall question after all. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure, to be honest, but it's not phrased as a question, so
Right.
I wasn't really sure if those are even considered questions or not. But I mean, I thought, yeah, maybe it could be probing, but then I don't really feel like it's asking for an opinion. It's more like, I don't know, it's kind of subjective.
I understand, because probing here seems to say opinions freely. No, this is where you can, remember what we had done the last class, you can interrogate the information you're given. When we do these classes, you don't have to accept everything. A probing question, to me, is supposed to be something that is going beyond the surface. It doesn't necessarily mean expressing an opinion freely, but to me, it's more like maybe applying something that they have learned. So I guess that's where it says expressing opinions freely. The way this is worded, I would probably choose that kind of word. But because for science, we're talking about applying information. Everything we do, our aim is to get our students to be able to understand the basic concept and then apply it into new or novel situations. That's what we want our students to be able to do. They have a grounded foundation in the scientific concepts, and then having understood that, you know, the basic concepts, what does it mean? Of what value is it in their everyday life or in another context? That's what we want our students to be able to do. So even for this today's lesson about textual features of textbooks and communication strategies that are used, the questioning styles that are used in textbooks is a means of communication. It's trying to find out from the students, how much do they know? Having read this, can they now immediately apply some information? So questioning styles enhance, or should enhance, rather, the comprehension of textbooks. So we looked at textual quality. Let me see if I can get back to the PowerPoint, which I think I closed down. One moment, let me just bring this up. Going back to the PowerPoint. I'm trying to, oh, there it is. Okay. All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, great. Sorry for the back and forth. I closed it and I shouldn't have. If you notice here, the communication strategies here talk about use of, the strategies used here are abbreviations, symbols, language of persuasion, evidence proof. Questions will come under this section. So I'm going to have to amend that before I send it off to you. But the communication strategies used in textbooks are very, very important. We had looked at also let's go back to the objectives. Oops. We said that factors that promote or inhibit comprehension of a text can include the following: text features, text organization, text content. So questions come under the text organizations. The activities, which I think Jason was saying that these some of the things that seemed more like activities that they were to do rather than straight questions, come under text organization. The things about the titles, the glossary, the table of contents, etc., all come under text features. The choice of content, the actual thing that they put into the textbook, that comes under, as it says, the choice of content. So I don't know if you get in the picture here. We're looking at how textbooks, the comprehension of textbooks can either be enhanced or retarded, so to speak, not necessarily by the readability, but by these other things that make up the textbook. So when we started out, Tracy was saying about she didn't really like her textbook or that textbook. It had a lot of writing, lots of words, hardly any pictures, the communication strategy of probably using, large bold print for the titles and subtitles were missing. That is something that is important for a textbook. So what does it mean for you as an educator? As an educator, whenever a textbook is being chosen for your classes, you have to do these kind of evaluations. You have to look at the whole textbook from last week's class on readability, do some readability tests, just kind of sample the books that you have and see if, first of all, is it at the grade level of your students? Having done that, evaluate the text again. What are some of the other ways in which we can evaluate? Does it have textual features that will assist the students on their own and draw attention to important points that they need? Are there errors in the textbook? If there are errors that you can deal with, they're few, they're minor, you can address them as they arise. Then if the other things are, are suitable, then you run with the textbook and just deal with the errors. But if there are too many errors, you'd want to avoid that book, because that means that you'd almost be rewriting the book. Then we're looking at organization. Let's have questions. Where does it place the questions? At the beginning, at the end? Are there questions along the way to try and keep the students engaged? And then what about the content? Does it match? Does it suit what you want to achieve in terms of the syllabus that you have to cover? So I just want to bring everything together just so we can see the big picture of what it is that we are looking at and the value of it. Okay. Now there was, let's see now. Trying to shoot it down here. And there now. Oh, there it is. Now, you know how it works. We have done some things we want to apply. It says here now, select a short section from your textbook, maybe 100, 150 words, a little section. Look at the section to see if you think that it might prove some difficulty for your students. So you're looking at a section of your textbook and you're thinking that, this might be a little bit troublesome, a little bit worrisome for my students to comprehend on whatever level. Try and rewrite that section right now. And then at the end, we're going to look at what adjustments did you make? Why did you think that those adjustments were necessary? We're not going to do the readability test part of it, but just go through your textbook, just from what you're observing and what we have discussed, see if there is a section, a paragraph or two that you think, even though the students, might have the foundation, but just going through that section, they might not understand clearly. I know that everything that's in a textbook, students might not necessarily understand. We might have to clarify and explain. But something that is really, if they were on their own, it would be difficult, really tough, really hard. They couldn't read that section on their own. So look for a section right now in your textbooks and see how you can make an adjustment to improve students' comprehension. Be prepared to defend your adjustments. Let's see if we can, I like to put time on things, so.
One question.
Yes, sure.
Do we work individually or in pairs?
You can collaborate.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Samuel is going to be alone though. Somebody might have to fly to St. Lucia for these classes.
Okay.
I don't think, I mean,
Yeah, I have a hard time to do. They don't do. They don't do. It's curious.
Are you ready?
Sure. Complicated.
Are you finished now? Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes, loud
Yes.
and clear.
I didn't know this one. Okay, let's check here. All right, let me know when you're ready.
Well,
Ready? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really familiar.
Okay, okay. Samuel, ready?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Jason, Tracy?
Yes.
All right. So let's get this party started.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Yeah, it's can dream.
All right. Trying to.
Okay.
What are you seeing on the screen?
Class
Class
activity.
activity 2.
Okay. I really wasn't sure. All right. So let's hear what it is that you have now. What you have done. Just quickly, now, why do I do this? Why do I carry you through these activities? You might be saying, Lord, you know, this is hardcore stuff. This is why am I doing this? See, if you go through the practice, one, chances are you won't forget it because you're doing it. So, you know, if you do, we deepen the learning. Two, if you go through this process, it will then help you to appreciate what it is that your students are going through. If you can identify an area that is difficult for students, it will help you to appreciate other aspects of, when we're dealing with the textbooks here, that might be difficult, and it's empowering you to see how you can assist the students and enhance the reading by probably providing some alternative. If you check the internet, sometimes some things you have to check the what do you call it now? The accuracy of what you read on the internet. We know that. It's same thing with your textbook. If you can rewrite short paragraphs or something, I'm not saying you must rewrite your textbook, but I'm just saying that you can do PowerPoint presentations, things that help the students. Put it up on a website. Do your schools have an online interface for students to access information that is school controlled?
No.
No? Okay, what about you in St. Lucia?
We have something like that. We just send, but a lot of students don't use it because it's technology. We send information to the students, and some people send their homework and stuff like that.
Right.
But a lot of persons don't use it really.
Okay. All right. Bermuda, do your students have that access?
That's more for like social stuff, that not really,
Not for teaching and learning?
no.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, they've done events, or it's just sharing amongst them.
Oh, that's an eye opener. All right.
The teachers put it on there.
Right.
One site, the teachers put it on there, and then they actually have a site that is controlled by the students.
Okay. All right.
But it's monitored by the school, yeah.
Okay. Well, just during the exercise, it's to assist you to say that if there's a difficulty, I can step in. And as Ava said, don't have to be blaming the students or making these accusations to say, well, they're not doing their work, they're not reading, whatever. Unfortunately, I went through this battle as a science teacher. I'm teacher of science. Why do I have to bother myself with these things? These things look like they belong in another class. They don't belong here. But if we want to assist our students, if we want to build their skills, what we're doing is building skills. Yes, we are concerned about the content, but we're building their readability skills. We are building their comprehension skills. We are building, skills that will make think and analyze. So really still important. So what do you make of what you did? Let me just hear you. You evaluate yourself first. I'm not necessarily asking you to read what you did, but how would you evaluate? What was the process like for you? Walk me through what it was when you found a section. Did you find a section that you thought was difficult, first of all? I'm not asking you to read what you have. Just tell me what the process was like. Did you find a section, and what was it like just trying to make the adjustments? So let's start with our friends from St. Lucia, Linton, Ava.
Then tell me to read and I will
Okay, I will read the original.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not asking you to read it. I'm asking you to just walk me through the process. Having found the section that was difficult, what was it
Okay.
like in trying to make the adjustments? Why did you make those adjustments? And how would you evaluate what you did? Do you think you did a good job? So don't
Okay,
ask
let's
this group to read. Just give me a kind of walk me through the process of what you did.
read that one.
no, just
And
walk
we'll
through.
just- right.
What we read the passage, of course, and then we found a lot of terms that in terms of the vocabulary might be, I'm not sure, it might be a bit difficult for the students to understand, and also some of the terminologies you just couldn't overlook it. If you really want to do your job, you couldn't just overlook it because you have terms like egestion, absorption, and if you were to just go through that lesson, the students most likely would not have understood what is it you were talking about. Sorry, we were talking about digestion. Sorry,
Okay, no problem.
the topic was digestion, and we were looking at in terms of ruminants versus non-ruminant animals. That's animals that have one stomach or a simple stomach, and those that have a more complex stomach and how they digest the food that they take in.
So
That's what we look. We look at
one
we
moment.
look at the vocabulary,
Okay.
and for us, we saw that the vocabulary is too high for the students, and we omitted some of these terminologies just to make digestion simple. And then I thought that when we do another lesson, then we will incorporate some of these terminologies for the students to have an idea exactly what it means, and then to tie it in to the previous lesson.
So what was the process like for you when you were, did you find it challenging to try and break down the words? I mean, just tell me what was, as you did the thing, how did you, what was the experience like? Were you putting yourself in the student's shoe? What were you thinking of as you made your choices in the adjustments?
Oh, very good question.
Good.
I thought of the students, yes, that's why I chose not to use a lot of the vocabulary. But yeah, I think the students, but it wasn't challenging for me as a teacher to actually change the information because it's science, and
Right.
you're familiar with the language. You do it in agriculture science, you do it in IS, maybe bio and these kind of things. So it's not a topic that is difficult for the teacher, because when you do agriculture science, you have an integrated knowledge of a lot of the sciences, if not all. So it's not difficult for me to change it. But in terms of the students, I think that will be a bit difficult for them to understand.
Okay. So do you think you did a good job?
A great job.
Yeah, we did.
All right. So you know that you need to be writing your textbooks, right? Because
Definitely.
if you see the flaws, you can see the weaknesses. You are the users of the textbooks. So this is the whole idea, that as you are the users, to make you more aware and to ensure that you help your students. So thank you very much. Samuel, how about you now? As I said, I don't need you to read it, but just walk me through the process. Why did you choose the adjustments that you made? And basically, do you think you made a good job?
Yes, I agree with Eva, what she said. I think what I noticed in what I did was, I think some of the terminology they use, students may not understand until the end of the topic. So that means we're talking about maybe after a week of teaching, that's when they're able to grab the terminology. Yes. So what I did was I use it to the terms which they can easily understand. Then at the end of the topic, like a week, then they can understand the terminology they use at the beginning of the topic itself.
Right. Okay. So you sense that as much as teaching, this is the interesting thing. As much as we are making our interventions, we meet them 40 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is, that at the end of a week, before they learn something, you realize something is wrong with that, right? Every class, they're supposed to your same objectives. You write a lesson plan. At the end of this class, students should be able to, at the end of every class, at the end of every encounter, the students should be able to, even if it's one objective. So we have to be careful that we're not feeding into a lesson plan a lot of content. At the end, the students won't be able to do anything with that content. So yes, students should be able to know. Watch that word know. I know that it's not a methods class, but watch that word know, because know is a very deep sea. We need to say students should be able to define in their own words. Students should be able to explain the phenomenon of. Students should be able to demonstrate how. We want students to be able to do something at the end of their time with us, every single class. So be careful about our objectives. So in terms of what you just said, that's a very key point that you have identified, that can't wait until the end of a week of 40 minutes, 1 hour and 20 minutes, 2 hours with us to say that then they'll be able to understand. So that's a good thing. Having identified the need to front load vocabulary, because the book doesn't really provide it along the way. The textbook doesn't seem to be defining the terms along the way. All right, thank you very much. All right, quickly, Jason, Tracy.
I think we kind of had the same challenge, which was actually finding a passage that was that we thought would be complicated.
All right.
So
the textbook was well written.
Yeah, I think at least maybe it's because I'm not very familiar with the textbook, and then I'm not also familiar with students and how they read textbooks. But to me, I didn't find it I didn't think it was very complicated.
All right. Okay, so did you ever find something eventually?
No, not really. No.
All right, so maybe we should twist the question for you. What were the things that in that book you think that was done well to assist students to understand the text? What kind of language was used? What was the layout? I mean, since for the others, the vocabulary seems to have been the main issue. That words were used, processes were used, terms, concepts that weren't necessarily clarified for the students. It was an assumption. So what were the things that were in the textbook that you examined that you think they did well that would assist the students?
I was thinking vocabulary would be a big thing, but in most cases they explain the words. So I feel like, you can understand it because they explain it.
Right. Okay.
And I think, was it Samuel who said speak English. Here, when they talk about eutrophication, it's in the middle of the sentence. It's at the beginning of the chapter, and they say we will discuss this later on page 173. So when it's a new term, it's in the sentence, but it's not discussed until 8 pages later.
Okay, so you get a sense that, okay, here's a new word, but we're using it here, but just hang on, it will soon be clarified.
Yeah.
Right. And do you find our textbooks speaking with students, or are they just giving information? I don't know if you've come across manuals where they're kind of interactive. They say they kind of use words like you will be able to, or there's this dialogue. It's really a neat technique, I think, where the material is written like a dialogue. It even says, okay, now try, you go ahead and write 2 sentences, whatever, or try these questions. It's interactive. Do you find your textbooks have that kind of interactive mode, or they're just presenting content?
I think it's interactive because even when it's stuff that they don't think is at your level, they say this is not for your level.
Henley's Loop.
Yeah, they were talking about Henry's Loop, but they were just like, this is not at this stage.
So there seems to be some dialogue going on between reader and the book.
Complicated for an IGCSE textbook.
Sorry, I didn't get that last part.
the full answer to this is too complicated for an IGCSE textbook. So a simple explanation will have to be sufficient for now. And then they go on to give a simple explanation.
Okay, all right. That's interesting. I don't think I've seen that style. What do you think about the style used, Ava and Linton, for your textbook? Is there a dialogue? Do you sense that the textbook is openly interacting with the reader? First of all, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, the point I'm trying to make.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see it happening in the books?
Yes, from the book, yes, you could see it interacting. Actually, like we're looking at digestion, I could see like digestion in pigs is like they actually list the different the main parts of digestion in pigs.
Oh.
So it's direct.
Right. But that's still content oriented. But is the style or the language used? Do you think that they're just presenting content, or is there an invitation for you as a reader to get involved in the content? Do they use terms like, no, we will examine blah, 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 blah? Or do you see that kind of language?
Not really, no.
Mm-hmm. So it's still just the
I don't think if I may interject, I don't think a lot of the books, maybe I haven't read a lot, do that at the secondary level, the higher level. I think based on my daughters, when she's at primary school level, yes, you see that a lot in the primary school text, and they give them activities to do, and it's geared towards them and at different levels, etc. But not at the secondary level. I don't think so much, no. It's just presenting your content and you decide to use it or you don't decide. Sometimes you don't have an option because that's what they recommend. So it's a lot of content based. The textbooks, so it's not, maybe they think at that level students don't need that kind of interaction. Maybe the teacher will give them somehow. But I don't think we have a lot of that in the secondary level. And also I was thinking, maybe long ago, when Samuel said something about the V over whatever, V over T. I didn't think, maybe I missed it. I didn't think we looked at in terms of the age and the level that we're using these textbooks. I'm not sure, maybe I missed it somehow. But I'm thinking that maybe the level that the student's supposed to be at, because I will not be given a foundation course and look at V over T if the students are now being exposed to these kinds of stuff. So maybe we didn't look at the age and the level that the students are at, because some textbooks will do that. Because if I am at grade 8 or 9, I am and that's a subject that I chose, I'm supposed to have this knowledge that my teacher in the lower level said, what is agriculture? You should know that, you come with that. I'm not going to wait until you reach in Form 4 or 5 and then have to explain what V over T is. You know, it's based on your age and the level. So I'm thinking that we might be critiquing it, I'm not sure, in a way with the absence of different variant factors. I'm thinking that if we look at, okay, I pick up that textbook, it is geared towards 15 and 16-year-old students. They should have come with that knowledge. We don't have to explain everything to them. When they look, for example, my students in Form 1, I will not say, what is AI? I'll go to all the students and say, what is AI? They should know that it's artificial insemination because they have done that. They are at that level. So you can just use abbreviations and etc. and symbols. And then when you do chemistry, I would know that the students in the lower level, they do IS, they do chemistry, they do physics. So when I'm taking them in the Form 3 and 4, I will say, for example, K, H2O, NPK, whatever, they would have had that knowledge. Some of them would forget, but they would have that, they'll come with that foundation, and then you move on. So I don't know.
Right, I agree with you. I think we've kind of assumed that, but I think for Samuel, I think he was making reference to that for students, that terminology for Charles Law, but he can correct me if I'm wrong, that it seems to have been more specialized for physics. and I think he says that it's in a chemistry book. If someone was doing chemistry, would they know that? I'm just asking. I'm asking, would they have known that? I mean, just presenting that. I think what Samuel was making the point about was that VOT would be an assumed understanding for physics students. I think he said that. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be explained again at that level. But I think here it is in a chemistry book. Let's say someone in a single science, chemistry, never saw that before because they don't do physics. So Samuel, I'm begging you to come in at this point. Is that the point that you're making? that for the physics?
Yes, I think so.
Assumption.
Okay. Yes, I understand what Eva said, but you see, it's like in chemistry and physics, most of the content start from 4th form. So most times, like in the lower form, because it's a 2-year course, I start from 4th form. So most of the content and the concepts students are not used, they're not being taught in the lower form.
Oh, okay.
So it's now when they get to 4th form, there is a new syllabus, and that's where they start getting to know some of those content and theory, like, wow, what is this?
Okay.
So I understand that there's something they should have known in the lower form, but chemistry and physics start from 4th form.
Oh, well, not in all schools, sorry.
Right.
I guess we have some, I guess it's a situation.
Right.
Yeah. But and another thing that we do have cross-discipline, because a lot of times when you look at the different topics, and I'm saying I'm doing that in agriculture, but the teachers say, oh, but we do that. For example, in business, we have all in the sciences, we do budgeting, we do everything, entrepreneurship, all these things in science, in agriculture science, that is. So it's about business and look profit and loss accounts and all these things, and it's genetics and different crosses, hybrid and stuff. So we you know, they're all linked. It's just that we don't transfer the knowledge, the students, that is.
Right.
So
but
I guess you have things that are similar.
But I agree with you. We are not, you see, talk about skills building. So I agree with you. We are not trying to water down the science. We're not trying to spoon feed them, but having recognized weaknesses, what we want to do is to find a way, how can we help our students? So remember at the beginning for this particular class, today's class, we spoke about textual features, that they didn't even know where to find this, where to find that. Remember, Ava, you were saying that we probably shouldn't even be holding them accountable for something that they were never taught. So the idea is to equip them and us. If we weren't exposed to this need, that's what they need to do, maybe we wouldn't even have thought about it. Maybe we'll just say, pardon my vernacular, I'm going to use my native vernacular maybe for the first time here for the weeks. But we might say something like, hey boy, know where to find something, which is just simply say, young man, don't you know where you must find the table of contents, So basically, if we don't become aware and then find a way how to equip the students, give them the skills to handle the information, for example, from the textbooks, then we would not be effective in the teaching what we really want to get on to teaching, which is the science, the concepts, and the contents that we want them to acquire, and the skills. So for this course, we're teaching kind of to support you so that you can assist your students better, But I take your point, and it's an appreciated point, Eva. We're not trying to water down the thing. We're not trying to spoon feed them. Where they should know, then that assumption is a safe assumption. But where we recognize that they might be having some difficulties, then what can we do? How can we address it? And then hopefully, having addressed it, having given them the skills that they need, they would apply it, and they would move on from, as we would say, strength to strength. All right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And yes, go ahead.
When Ava was saying about the way the book is written about you with UCAN and you can.
Right. Yes. I wanted to go back to that point. Thanks for bringing it up. Right.
This is a standard Form 5 textbook that I'm using.
Right. Because I was going to bring it up. Thank you very much, Tracy, for saying it. I got that point missed me. But the question I wanted to pose, Ava, do you think that that style would be beneficial for 4th and 5th form? You said that for your own child, you see that kind of language, and it's true, being used at the primary level, you know, kind of like a conversation. But do you think that that style has any place for 4th and 5th?
Yeah, I think so. I think that will allow, that's my opinion, students to maybe have ownership, take responsibility, because it's actually talking to them, you know, like to self, you will be able to do that. So it takes ownership of what is it you're going to be doing. And then when you have done it, you would see, you know, your success, I think.
Sorry?
I agree with David. One of the opening topics here is our sex, whether we are male or female, is not under the control of a single gene. So right at the opening sentence, you've got to take ownership of that. You say our sex. Is that right?
Tracy, I'm sorry, your voice kind of trailed off towards the end.
I was saying I agree that with Ava that how you take ownership of it, because in this opening chapter on sex determination, paragraph says our sex, whether we are male or female, and then it goes on and on to talk about the genes and things. So I think just by saying our sex, meaning humans, they have to take ownership of it.
And it makes it personal. It makes it personalizes it. So if you feel like you're a part of this thing, that is speaking to you directly, that this information, someone is communicating to me, not just presenting something at me, but they're communicating directly to me. And as Ava said, it's saying that what I should be able to do, no, we're going to do it. There's this interaction. So it might be something that when you write your own textbooks, Ava, Linton, Samuel, Jason, and Tracy, that you would want to consider, right? Because you know what the impact it can have. All right.
And we'll give you 10% commission, as you pointed out to us.
No. I'm just doing my part in this global education society, But we're really, if there's anything else that you learn from this course, it's really an awareness of ourselves as teachers and the awareness of who the students are and how we can connect to them. All right. Well, without further ado, this is the end of today's class. I sent an email off with just so everybody's on the same page with the adjustments, the changes that we have made with the dates, and a kind of outline, for want of a better word, of the test areas to cover. If I sense that there's something more that I want to say about the test, then I will also send that in time. And I have 2 PowerPoints sent to you. Today's class, whatever adjustments, I still think there are some things I want to tweak about it. And also the one before. I wrote that in the note. Quick information. All these classes, I think maybe except for one, I forgot to press the record button, I think, have been recorded. And I think a link has already been sent to you from earlier on in the course, where you can go to, is the YouTube link? A YouTube link, and you select, I think it will be labeled or identified, whether by week or by the title of from the course outline. Let's go by week, by dates. So you can review the lessons as it was recorded. So the discussions, you can review them, because that's basically what was happening with us. We had a PowerPoint, but there was just a scaffold or framework for the discussions where really that's where the real learning is taking place. So you can look into it, check through your emails, but an email was apparently sent to you earlier on so that you can access all of these. And for other classes as well, for all your classes, a link to these videos that have, the classes that have been videotaped. All right, well, all the best. Take care.
Just now, one more
Thank you.
question, sorry. About the readability test, can we choose? Do we choose any two?
Yes. Choices.
Okay, thanks. All right, thank you.
Test done. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please tell Vanessa hi for me if you you know, tell her that my best regards.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.